You never know, it might, if we take one lightly and something happens, well then, everybody's gonna be
Blamed for it.
That's right.
Mhm.
But let me say this, and I can say this on on the open channel because the news cut me off the other day. They asked me, what do I think we need to do with these children? Take their phones, take the social media from them and all this and that. And I told them, children are like criminals.
Mhm.
If they want to get to it, they'll get to it.
Right.
I'm gonna tell you now, and y'all can put me on the record for this one. Mama say knock you out. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Favorite song.
And that's the bottom line. Start knocking them children out.
Yeah.
You know, make them put the fear of God in them.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Whenever they do something inappropriate. Excuse me. And I'm gonna say that because, you know, I'm always dealing with the children. So I was at the juvenile detention home the other day, taking care of some things for another set of children. And as I'm walking in, there's a parent leaving out with a child.
Mhm.
And they just a kick, like they just come off a Disney ride. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
So as I'm talking to Mr. Mason Jack, who's like the supervisor over there at the juvenile detention home, we talking about our situation. Then I asked him, I said, what are we doing with the young people that are doing these terrorist acts? Because you got to remember, they're terrorists,
Mhm.
and their name is going to be said in the same breath as the 9/11
Yeah.
program, you know what I'm saying? Because they're terrorists. And he went into it, and he said, matter of fact, that was one of them just left. And my thing is, how are you going to be leaving from the detention home with your child, and y'all giggling and carrying on as you leave?
Mhm.
I can tell you right now, if my child, I had to go get my child, or even me when I was coming up, if my dad had to come get me from the juvenile detention home, I'm gonna tell you now, I'm asking people, can I stay another month?
Yeah.
Let my daddy calm down.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? We not gonna be leaving out of that time. We're not doing that.
No.
I'm getting slapped behind the head. I'm getting kicked in the buttocks. I might get punched in the mouth, hitting the throat. I mean, my daddy could be in jail for child abuse.
Yeah.
You know, but that's the problem. These children aren't fearing their parents. Number one, because the parents are becoming friends with the children.
Mhm.
And I might be stepping on toes, but hey, if I do, just say ouch. I don't know. But the parents are becoming friends with the children, and they're not afraid because they're not really understanding the severity of what they just did.
Okay.
That's a federal charge,
Yeah.
and that follows you the rest of your life.
Yeah.
I know you just said that the parents are becoming friends with the children. We know the child abuse system is broken.
Oh,
It was broke when they brought it out.
When it comes to child abuse, and I mean, I hear a lot of parents say that in the community, the state won't raise them, but if I put my hands on him, the state gonna lock me up.
hey, look, prime example. I'm looking at the internet the other day. They got a dad whipping his child. Okay,
Mhm.
the belt buckle hit him in the forehead. They arrest the dad.
Mhm.
Man, I'm telling you, my dad be under the jail right now because if they whipping you and you're moving, wherever you move, you got hit.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so do you think state laws containing to child abuse should be redefined to a certain criteria?
Mhm.
Huh. Yeah. My opinion.
Not just that, it's federal law also.
It's outrageous. And what's happening is, okay, they want us to let the children run amok. All right? So, therefore, your child winds up in the system. If you let your if you don't discipline your child, or let me back up. if you discipline your child, how can we get them in the system? We can't make no money off your child. You know what I'm saying? Then if you're a dad correcting your child, well, then we're going to take you out of the house because we don't want no dads to be raising their little children, right? You know what I'm saying? We got our little black children out there, and we taking the dads out the home.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? As soon as you discipline that child, oh, come on, you got to go to jail. Man, that's... So you take the dad and you put the dad in jail. Now the child running amok, okay? So next thing you know, the child in the jail. So we got a pipeline of family going to jail because we won't allow them to discipline our children.
Correct.
You know what I'm saying?
Brother AB, how much is it that culture plays a whole lot into what's going on with our youth today? Because, you know, Keith and I talk about it all the time. They have crossed over to another level. You know, everybody living the hip hop crowd, everybody living that about that life, no respect. You go on TikTok, you see everybody using profanity. Young people live like that. I was in the store yesterday, guy on the phone cussing his baby mama out because he got to buy too much loud in public. Don't care you offend me or my fiance I was with or other elderly people. So how much is that you think as a councilman, as a dad, as a father, much like we all over here, how much you think culture plays into just that also? Because we accept the culture that our kids get in, but we can't control after that. You can take a good child, send them to Dillard or any one of them schools. If they're living that culture life, 10 to 1, they could be doing something that's going to get them in some trouble. So culture plays a lot in that. We let that culture come into our lives every day.
And you know what? you make up a good point right there. The culture that we live in nowadays plays a major role. But I'm going to say this, I'm going to go back to the dad being in the home once again. If your roots are planted deep, just like that palm tree, it don't matter how big that hurricane is, that palm tree will bend down and touch the ground. But the roots that you plant in that child from birth is going to make that palm tree stand back erect when all is said and clear, when all is done and clear. You know what I'm saying? So we have to incorporate some good roots in our children prior to sending them to the Tulanes, the Southerns, and the Gramblins, and all of this and that. You know, but the culture, you're right. We live in a culture right now where everything is acceptable. I know we used to walk around. If you would cuss in front of some elderly, I don't care if they knew you or not. They might have slapped you. I know I did. I got slapped in the mouth with a towel by Miss Sugar Pie when I was younger. She hit me with a wet towel. Pow! Oh Lord. You know what I'm saying? Because I used, and it wasn't a major curse word to me, you know what I'm saying? It was just a little something, and she like, you're gonna respect me when I'm right here. I'm like, yes ma'am. You know what I'm saying? And I might have been 13 years old.
Hey, man,
And she still popped me.
Yeah, when we was coming up, we couldn't not put a handle on an elderly person's name. You better not call him by their first name. Got slapped in the mouth then.
Exactly. You know, and you talk about how I deal with the children. Let me give you all an example of how these children are being raised by the culture and by themselves. I do a mentoring program every Monday at this particular school, right? It's a middle school. And I had a young man in there the other day. He came in there to talk about choices and consequences. He did 19 years in the pen. And he's up there speaking to the young men about choices and consequences. Got one of the young men in there just blah, 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 blah. I say, you're gonna have to get out of here. So I touch him on his arm to escort him out. And he commenced to cussing up a storm and telling me how he gonna do this and that to me and whatnot. You know what I'm saying? I ain't gonna say what I told him back, but I just let him know I'm not a teacher. You know what I'm saying? But I had to go there with this young man, and with his hair, he might reach the bottom of my chest. But he felt that because of his surrounding, his culture, that he's in, he felt that he could talk to me that way, and when he got out by the principal, he still disrespected the principal. You know what I'm saying? Now, I got two sides to that story. Let me show y'all something about how the culture changes a child. Now, me and this child was going toe to toe. Cause I got 25 other young men looking at me. And if I let this young man disrespect me, I done lost the respect of the other 25. Okay? So I gotta handle him like I'm in the street. Okay? So then after that, and everything is over, he can't go to class because now he's riled up. Okay? So I go up to him and I tell him, hey, look, I love you, man. I love you. That's why I'm here. But you can't disrespect me. I'm a grown man. I can't let you talk to me this way. You know, now they was talking about expelling the young man. So me, I don't want to see him get expelled because of a program that I have going on. So after telling him how much I love him and whatnot, I said, now, boy, come here before I have to punch you, boy. And I gave him a hug. I hugged the little boy tight, and I told him, put your arm around me. You know, I'm still being, you know, with that hard, aggressive thing. And I tell you what, when I grab his right arm and I put his arm around me, this child went from being hard as a brick wall to soft as wet cotton. He started, because he's never had a man or male figure, because he don't have it in his house now, like what I was saying earlier. He don't have that, and that changed that child from being hard to being soft, because I showed him some love. Even though I went off on him, I came back and I showed him that love. We gonna talk about culture. That's the type of culture that we need to start instilling into our children. Instead of letting them see the negative. Yeah, we can give them that hard love, that rah, 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 rah. But we got to embrace our children and show them that we love them. I don't care, because let me tell you, I could have taken him and body slam him. I'm being real with it. You know, I wanted to body slam him. But I know the child is lost in his culture. He has to, and then he got the Napoleon complex because he's the shortest one in the group. You know what I'm saying? So he want to show how hard he is. You know? And we have to change that mentality.
That's so funny, because you see all the so-called rap mentality rapping out there to that drill music. All them some little skinny guys. But they got the guns. And to put that's the toughest ones. And they the one who is more in defiance of everything.
And to put it out there to the parents, a lot of these rappers who have those violent words and languages in their music, and it's causing violent acts in the community throughout Atlanta, everywhere. They're charging them with the RICO Act, and I think a lot of parents should let their children watch these arraignments and trials, so they can see that what's in these lyrics is not what it is out there. A lot of them going to trial. These rappers going to trial. They crying to get out, but can't get out because the judge won't set a bond because his lyric caused Johnny to go kill Jimmy. And they're not going after the record companies. They're going after the artists themselves. And I think a lot of parents need to let their kids watch these trials, their youngsters watch these trials, especially the young teens that's getting into these violence acts, listening to the lyrics and thinking they could go do it and they're gonna be okay.
But you know, a lot of kids, like you were saying, they don't get that love. You know, a parent asked me one time to mentor a kid, and she was telling me she was working 3 jobs, you know, trying to do what they can for him. I said, well, that's the biggest problem right there. You know, when he's coming in, you going out. when you're going out, he's coming in. And then when you're off of work, you want to make them do this and make them do that. They're not used to doing that. How often you tell your kids you love them? Or they know I love them because
Hey.
I'm buying them this and I'm buying them that. That's not love.
I'm gonna say this. And I'm not as old as you guys. I'm
Hey, watch
30.
your mouth, man. Watch your mouth.
See, I'm not putting you way up there, man.
Yeah.
But I'm not
You're
putting
not
you
as
way
wise
up
as we are. That's what you
there.
mean.
But anyway,
He's wise. He's a wise young man.
I'm 30 years old. I was raised, my mama working 4 jobs. My mama was working 4 jobs. And my father wasn't around. And I was raised in that kind of culture that we talking about.
Mhm.
And I didn't come up shooting nobody. I didn't come up hurting nobody. So I'm gonna say this: it's not just about having that figure that. But I had a lot of figured love. I had a lot of love around me because I had people who wasn't my parents that would show me love. But the thing of it is, I think what it is today is the copycat syndrome. If I'm gonna see, if I'm gonna see Johnny 20, 22, 20, 23 years old and I'm 16, if I'm gonna see Johnny walking around with a gun, well, I want to walk around with a gun. I want to look cool. But the thing of it is, it's not just the parents. The people in the community needs to go back to that community raising kids.
And times are now you can add mental health to it because there's a lot of mental health issues in our community.
Has a lot to do with it.
Brother Keith, not to cut you off, but Judge, District Court Judge for Appeal, Circuit 3, Larika Johnson Theory, she's supposed to be, I'm supposed to be giving her a call so she could introduce herself to the people and let them know what she's running for. But she's number 43 on the ballot, so if you guys don't mind, giving her a few minutes, you know.
But while we try to get on, when you see that kid walk in the community with a boot-ass face, or with the weapon in his hand,
Good
you
morning.
need to check that kid.
Judge Larika, this is Wash with the Community Matters Show.
How you doing?
Okay, we done fine, and I'm calling you so you could introduce yourself to our listeners and let them know what you're running for. And don't forget to give your number. I already said 43, so don't forget to give your number at the end.
And I seen the phone
Okay.
was lighting up. Call it, you can call
Good
back
morning.
in a few minutes.
This is Judge Larika Johnson Theory. I'm currently a district court judge, and I'm seeking the candidacy for the Third Circuit Court of Appeals, which is including my voting district would include St. Landry, Lafayette, St. Martin, and Iberia Parish for our voters to actually elect us to the bench of the Third Circuit Court of Appeals. Just some brief information about me. I was born and raised in the northern part of Elementary Parish in a small area called Laveau. And I went on to law school at the age of 24. I was admitted to practice law in the state of Louisiana. I had a practice, general practice of family law matters, personal injury, and felony criminal defense. And in 2009, I was elected as the first state representative, female state representative for District 40, in which, in that capacity, I sat on a lot of the lawyer committees, including the Judiciary Committee. I was instrumental for creating some key pieces of legislation, such as every baby born in the state of Louisiana is tested for heart defects because of my legislation. All sex offenders are prohibited from being on social media websites due to my legislation, which I was also featured on CNN for that legislation, and since then many states have followed that same statute and they've enacted those laws in their states so that law enforcement can use that as a tool to prohibit sex offenders from being on those websites and keeping our children safe. I also was instrumental in helping to facilitate legislation that allows law enforcement to ping cell phones in situations what we would consider like an emergency situation, and we need to try to locate a victim to try to attempt to save their life. So instead of having to get a search warrant, we can now ping those cell phones and try to locate the victim to try to save their life. And those are just some key things I've done. But if you look at my past life, I'm also very active in my community. I'm 44 years old, but my community service dates back to as early as age 19. And I think a lot of that was inspired by, at 17 years old, I had a near-death experience. I was a pedestrian and I was hit by a bus. And it didn't seem that I would have been able to make it, but I did. And I think that certainly brought me closer to God, and I understood that that was the reason He left me here. And I knew that I had a purpose. And I believe that that purpose was to serve and improve the lives of others. And it certainly hit home every time I hear either someone else that's in a car accident and they don't survive, or either another bus accident and they don't survive. Then it lets me know just how extremely blessed I am to be alive and be here. So at an early age, I committed my life to public service. I worked with Habitat for Humanity, AmeriCorps, all of those things, nonprofits, even when I was in college. And then I came back to St. Landry Parish in 2005 and implemented the first free tax site for the constituents here in St. Landry Parish. And I committed to trying to prevent individuals who I felt were considered in poverty, or even elderly, who I felt that a lot of the times the tax services were extremely unreasonable, the cost that they were incurring, all those rapid refund loans. So I was trying to deter them from utilizing those services, because as I would tell them, when you don't have $600 or $700, it makes a difference. You can use that money on something else. So why pay if you can get it done for free? And so that's what I did for over 15 years. And I received an award from the U.S. Department of Treasury for my public service to my community, and for how many millions of dollars I brought back to my community doing that service. Those are just some of the things that I do, as well as the fact my daughter, Madison, who has autism, that also inspired me to promote autism awareness. So I do our annual autism breakfast, autism lighted up bike ride, and so I ride with the kids throughout my community with the bikes with lights. And those are just some of the things that I do, but I've always been involved in my community, even prior to me seeking office. And at this time, I'm a district court judge. I made history again in St. Landry Parish as the first female district court judge to be elected. And I preside currently over jurisdiction matters. So I do civil matters, and I do criminal matters, juvenile and family law. I also preside over the Family Preservation Specialty Court. And at this time, collectively, when I look at both my professional, my personal experiences, I believe that the Third Circuit Court of Appeals would certainly be a good fit for me, and that I would bring some diversity and balance to that bench.
Wow. You got a history, Well, we're going to try to get you live on the show before you start your journey. Well, your journey doesn't start already, trying to get elected to that seat. And it seemed like you were qualified for it, And what's your number again?
My number is number 43 on the ballot. And just to remind the listeners, early voting starts October 25th through November 1st.
Yes, ma'am.
And the election day will be November 8th of this year. So it is important to cast your vote, and I would certainly ask the viewers to keep me and my family in prayer and consider voting number 43. I would certainly ask for your vote. Vote number 43, Ladrika Johnson Theory, your next appellate court judge.
All right,
Thank you.
We're gonna keep you in mind, and thank you for allowing us to take a few minutes of your busy day to give us your information.
Oh, I appreciate you thinking of me and allowing me to have that opportunity. I certainly appreciate it.
Thank you so much. And you have a blessed day, a blessed weekend.
You too, you do the same. Yeah, take care.
All right, thank
And
you.
to the call out there that was calling just before Miss Theory came on, if you can call back again, the lines are now open.
Open, yes, sorry
Uh,
about that. But, you know, she called me and
Mhm.
asked me to be on the show, and when she did it, you know,
And there go the caller.
yeah.
Good morning, caller.
Good morning, guys. How y'all doing this morning?
Pretty
Another
good.
blessed day.
Y'all got the voice, but y'all frozen in time. The picture.
Oh, we frozen.
Oh, okay.
The camera.
I mean, I can still hear y'all and see y'all. It's not that y'all moving around no more.
Okay.
But I want to chirp in on the kids.
The camera's off right there. Okay, come on.
But from 13 to 20, they don't have nowhere or nothing for the kids to do.
You're right. Because a lot of the centers are closed, you know, on weekends. They don't open till after 4 during the week. So, you know, all these different things that's going on with them, that's where they get lost at.
I'm gonna say this, Mr. Wallace. There shouldn't be no centers open for kids before 3:30 because
Mhm.
you're supposed to be in school at
Right.
that time.
Right. You know, so we're gonna get back on them. I think we back on,
We're working on technical difficulties.
process, yeah.
But
Go
I'm gonna
ahead.
get with the chief because that has a lot to do with the crime and they going like 3 founders, I believe, huh?
Yeah, 3 finals.
Yeah.
Do the city of Lafayette have a say-so, or how they get picked? You know, on how they elect or pick a chief to
No.
represent Lafayette?
Well, let the councilman,
if he can,
Yeah,
because
if he can,
he's a
answer.
Well,
parish.
I'm on the parish side, but I do know that on the city side, they had got a few of the councilmen involved, and if it's anything like the first picking, I was on the first one, and what they do is they go and they try to find the finalists out of all of them, and then once they narrow it down, like it is right now, I think that's when the mayor president steps in and gives the final say so. I don't know 100%, so please don't hold me to it because I wasn't involved in this selection here. But if it's anything like the very first one, I'm going to say that's probably how it's going to be done as well.
Correct.
Mhm.
And I
Chief,
think
please, since you're there, what the criteria, what they look for to be a chief for the parish president can control the chief, or he's kind of like he or she, what they gonna do for the community, how they gonna solve crime, how they gonna handle the whole idea of how things gonna work.
Well-
For the city of Lafayette.
Well, that's a good question, and you know yourself it's a broad question because every person has a different idea of what a chief of police should be. I got my own opinion as well. You know, I think a good chief of police is someone who makes these people get out their car and walk the neighborhood. Somebody else might say that's not what they need from a chief of police. But as far as you mentioned something about does the parish president have control? And technically, yes. And that's one of the problems that we're having right now. And once again, this is A.B. Rubin's opinion I'm about to say. Okay? That's why I think, personally, we need to elect a chief of police. Because tomorrow morning, let's say we choose Mr. Wallace to be our new chief of police, all right? Tomorrow morning, the mayor president walks in and look at Mr. Wallace's hat and say, you know what? I don't like that black hat. You're fired. We're gonna get us another chief of police. He can do that because it's an appointed position by the mayor president. It's just that they're going through a process to pick one, okay? But he has total control of who the chief of police is. You know what I'm saying? So let's say Mr. Wallace is a good chief of police, and in the next election, Brother Jay is the new mayor president. But he didn't like that Mr. Wallace didn't campaign for him, so as soon as he get in, he gets rid of Mr. Wallace. You know what I'm saying? So that's why, and once again, AB's opinion, we need to elect a chief of police. So that way, that chief of police don't feel that he has to be obligated to that mayor president and have his ideology on how to run the city. You know what I'm saying? The mayor president should be able to say, well, okay, this is my opinion, this is what I think you need to do. But at the end of the day, if you don't do it, they can fire him.
Right.
And
You know?
just to sum up with Mr. Rubin, just saying,
Yeah. But since I got you on the air, I'm gonna give you flowers while you're leaving. You're doing a good job on the parish side, but I wish y'all would give the city back to us, because we gonna be talking about the chief. We got elected a city marshal, got elected sheriff in Lafayette, and all the other entities, because we got election right now in Scott for the policemen. We need, to have a candidate that we can talk to, tell us who he are and who she's are, and what they're gonna do for the community. And that's what I would like to see. But without y'all vote, and I know you just one vote, so I'm not gonna blame you for everything.
Thank you. But and like I said, in my opinion, I feel you. I'm 100% with you.
We're back on the air caller.
Yes, sir. Y'all moving around now. I can see y'all. Before I couldn't see what y'all was doing.
Now see my moves, man.
Yeah.
Don't pay me no mind, man.
but yeah, to sum up what Mr. Rubin was saying,
But get back to the guys, to the kids. We're gonna go back to the police chief. If all three of us or four of us know who's the drug dealer in Lafayette, why the cops don't know?
Actually, let me tell you something on that note. They do know, okay? Because I'm gonna tell you now, I've seen where they've called in and told them about the whole setup, but they can't just go and just say, okay, and I like to use Mr. Wallace because he's sitting on the side of me, and that way I don't have to worry about nobody suing me, so I keep using his name. If I go and tell them that Mr. Wallace is selling drugs, they can't just go in there and try to catch him, because if they go in there and at that particular time Mr. Wallace don't have anything on him, well then we can get sued, and then now it makes it even harder for us to apprehend him. So a lot of times, it's, from what they're telling me now, they're saying that they have to build up a case. They can't just go in and grab them. I can tell you, I got a friend of mine who he sat down for a long time. When I say sat down, went to jail, and they had him under investigation for like 3 or 4 years before they finally went in and grabbed him.
and if I'm correct, is because you have to show probable cause in
Yeah.
front of a judge to
Yeah.
get a warrant to execute, right?
Yeah. You know, there's a lot of things going on with that. But I'm with you 100% because
Yes.
I've seen, I was in an office where a young lady said, hey, look, they're selling they're selling X, Y, Z, and they're doing it this way and that way, and I haven't seen them pick nobody up yet, you know, or heard of it. Maybe they pick somebody up, I don't know. But I understand what you're saying. Trust me.
Another thing, I'd like to know where those kids getting all these guns. They're not going to academy or to the gun store and buying the guns, you know?
I'll say this, Mr. Joe, but if you look back to a news story, I want to say about maybe 7 months back, on Evangeline Thruway, they stopped a car with 50 high-powered rifles and 2,000 rounds of ammunition.
Yeah, they're being sold like drugs to
What
people.
he was doing with that? He wasn't going to keep it for himself.
And he wasn't
They're
gonna
being
touch
sold. They're being sold just like drugs to the community.
it. Yeah, well, you know, they got gun shows that comes out
Yeah.
everywhere. They're getting ready to have a gun show
Yeah.
this month, I believe.
Yeah, and that not even the amount of steps don't add up to the guns on the street. They're being sold. Everybody think that's a badge of honor.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You know, the thing about it is, they're bringing the weapons in our community. Just like back in the day, well, the white sheets don't have to take us out anymore. All they have to do is plant it in our community.
You know.
When crack came out, all they had to do was come and give us, that's a cheap drug. They gave it to us. And what we did, we got our family and friends hooked on it. Now we killing each other, so all we gotta do is come sell some guns for cheap. Put it in the community. Sell it to the youngsters. You know what I'm saying? You can go buy an AR for maybe $200. You know, get your street sweeper right quick, $200-300, and they don't have to come in lynchers anymore.
And even on gun buybacks, they're not gonna go sell the street sweeper back to the people. Not, they might sell an old rusted gun, but not.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? So that's what's happening. That's where the guns are coming from.
Yeah.
They're bringing them into our community and letting us kill ourselves off.
Yes, there you go.
See, one more thing, I'm gonna let y'all go. When my kids is 40s and 30s, but when they would leave the house, that's my house, that's my room. I was in the room. I'd go flip the mattress, check the drawers out, and see if they have any drugs or weapons. So the parents should do the same thing, you know, but different
Can't do that
years,
no more.
parents just be talking about drugs. The parents know the kids selling drugs, but the parents, the guy give them a couple of dollars to go to the casino or penny light bill, and that's what another thing happening. Nobody's not talking about.
Yeah.
And then you know the
Well, have a
problem.
good weekend, and nice talking to y'all. Thank you, JB.
All right, thank you. You're welcome. And you know what the problem is with that? I'm gonna say
Thank
this.
you for calling in, calling.
Yeah.
What's going on is, okay, you giving mom and dad or whatever a couple of dollars to pay the bills, but then next week your son dies in the street from a gun or something like that. Somebody kills your son, and then you want to come to us talking about what are you going to do about the gun violence? What are you going to do about this and that? Well, then, Mom, you knew what your son was doing. Why you didn't do something about it?
And I want to add this lastly, I know your show is winding down. They also out there killing for clout, they call it. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Killing for clout.
Killing for clout.
If you become a famous and well known and you don't mess with that clique, they're killing for clout out there. And that's where the mental illness part come in, because we got to be crazy to accept that stuff.
Yeah,
as
like
a
Billy
cult.
the Kid used to say, I can make you famous.
Clout means for those of y'all out there that don't know, clout is the same thing as fame. And
Let me grab something. I'll get something right quick. You know, before we go, let me say this. We talked, when we got off the subject a little bit about these phone threats, I need people in the community to understand. We need to educate our young people because they're doing the copycat thing. They see one do it and they want to do it. They figure, oh, well, they're out. They calling a prank call today, the bomb threat today, they out in like a day or two, and they figure, oh, nothing gonna happen to me either. Let me make you guys understand something. Tell your children, beat your children, whatever you gotta do to make them understand it's a federal offense. This stays with you for the rest of your life, okay? You can go to jail for 15 years. I don't want to lie about the years, but I do remember it was like $15,000 fine, okay? And then you try to go get a job later on in life, you got a federal offense on you. As I said earlier, when they talk about terrorizing on domestic grounds, you are a terrorist, just like those people that crashed into the Twin Towers. They were terrorists, okay? So your name is being used in the same sentence as the 9/11 terrorists.
Yeah.
Now you're trying to be a productive citizen and later on in life. Right now, as a juvenile, you don't see, you're like, oh, he tripping, da da da. But when you make 18 to 21 and whatnot, you're trying to be a productive citizen in the community, they look back at that, they don't want to hear that it was a phone prank. All they know is you was a terrorist. So please, parents, make sure you understand and you put it in your children's head that this is not a joke. Let me say this one more again. This is not a joke. It's a federal offense, and your child can, and 9 times out of 10, will go to jail.
And to the parents, on Wednesday, the board has decided remedies to start holding the parents legally, financially responsible for these
Kids done
threats.
that.
So that means every cop car that has to go out there, every resources you will pay for. And they decided that on Wednesday. So it's no joke. It's not a joke.
Because you don't send your kids there to terrorize nothing or bully nobody. You send your kids there to get an education, not just to school to get away. And on that note, you know, I want to thank you guys for allowing us to come into your home, into your eyes, into your hearts, you know, and y'all have a great weekend. Brother Keith?
I want to thank you for allowing us to come into your homes, your hearts, your eyes, and have a great weekend. We'll see you next Friday. Before we go, let me put this disclaimer out there.
And Parish Councilman A.B. Rubin, see, I got it right this time. We thank you for coming and speak on the kids and the things that we all spoke about today. So you have a great weekend too, and it's a pleasure, man.
The views and opinions we just expressed on this program does not reflect the views and opinions of Acadiana Open Channel, LUS Fiber, Lafayette Utility System, Lafayette Consolidated Government, Cox Communications, or Digital Soul Media. The views and opinions reflected today only reflects the views and opinions of the guests, the hosts, and the co-hosts, and the director.
All right, we out.
Except for
I didn't read the opening because we got added to. I'm gonna add it to the.
Okay.